seated. Thank you. I would like to welcome everybody to this reconvened meeting of the council here in the council chamber. Please ensure that you are seated in the seat allocated to you on the seating plan so that when you speak, your name is correctly displayed on the live stream and the camera is trained on you. We are not expecting a fire alarm tonight, but if one should occur, please follow the officers out of the building in the assembly point on the Manchester Road. The meeting is being live streamed, and I would like to welcome those watching on the council YouTube channel. Please remember that viewers at home are not able to hear you speak if you do not use your microphone. This includes when casting your vote for any recorded vote. Members will be aware that this is a continuation of the meeting that started at 5 p.m. and adjourned at 7:20 p.m. on 15th of July. Therefore, this evening's meeting would need to finish by 7:10 p.m. unless we suspend Council Procedure Rule 13L that the meeting continue beyond 3 hours in duration to allow us to continue to meet until 9:30 p.m. at the latest, unless otherwise agreed. I will now move that we suspend the CPR. Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second the motion?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone against? All those in favor, please show. Is it all right?
Yes.
Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. CPR 13 is suspended and this meeting can continue beyond 7:10 p.m. If we have not concluded the business by then, Item 1, Item 6 on the original agenda. Items for decision by council. Can I point out to members that items for decision by council are treated as motions? Once a proposal has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. They may then only speak again on an amendment. Before we move on, can I ask the Chief Executive to explain the members, officers, and those watching on YouTube what happened before the full council meeting on 15th of July was adjourned and where we are this evening as we start the formal business.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Those members and members of the public that were in attendance on 15 July will recall that Councillor Townsend moved a motion under CPR 22.1, suspension to suspend CPR 11, motions on notice, and CPR 15.1, motion to rescind a previous decision. This was seconded by Councillor Corden-Birtwistle. The motion was included in a supplementary agenda that was published on the afternoon of 15th of July and is now included at page 117 of the agenda pack for this meeting. The decisions concerned were taken at Appointments Council on 20th May 2026 to appoint Councillor Whittaker to the Audit and Standards Committee, minute 10, and to the position of Chair, which was minute 11 of that meeting. Councillors Whittaker, Hussain, Thompson, Poulton, Hosker and Baker spoke in relation to that item. It's not my place to repeat what they actually said at the meeting, but for those members that would like to know what they spoke about, they can look at our YouTube channel, which will explain what they did say. Other members may have wished to speak as well, but at approximately 7:20 and with the agreement of the meeting was adjourned before Councillor Townsend's motion could be put to the vote. I also believe that members may have wished to speak. We're therefore now resuming at this point where a motion under CPR 22.1 suspension to notice, CPR 11 motions on notice, and CPR 15.1 motion to rescind the previous decision has been moved and seconded. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions or clarification from members.
I hope everyone is clear. Yeah. Councillor Townsend, I believe you would like to withdraw your motion.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As permitted under Council Procedure Rule 13F and 14.8, I would like to put forward withdrawing the motion to suspend CPR 11, which was motions on notice, and CPR 15.1, which is motion to rescind the previous decision for the remainder of this meeting. So I would like to do that, and I would like to do it on for the following reason, really. I don't think it's in the spirit of fairness and natural justice when the meeting was adjourned at the point where it was. We had 6 members who were missing from the meeting on July 15th, who actually heard all the debate and all the contributions. Probably most of them are back in the chamber tonight. But then we have other members who did hear the full debate, who are now not here tonight. And it doesn't seem correct that we have that mismatch and they're then putting it to a full vote. So I'm proposing that we withdraw the meeting under, as I said, CPR 13F and 14.8. Thank you.
Seconder of the motion, do you consent to this?
With regret, Mr. Mayor, yes, I support Councillor Townsend with withdrawal of this motion.
Thank you. Does the meeting consent to this? Please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you. This now means that there will be no further discussion about the membership or chair of the Audit and Standards Committee, and we can move on to the next item. Next item is item 1A, item 6A in the original agenda, constitutional updates and reporting and nominations to committees, outside bodies and panels. Councillor Anwar, will you please move the report?
I move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lishman, will you please second the report?
Second the report, Mr. Mayor.
This is a lengthy report with 13 recommendations. I propose to deal firstly with those recommendations, paragraph 7 and 17, which are for noting only. Does any member wish to say anything on either of those recommendations? I propose to deal firstly with those recommendations at paragraph 7 and 17, which are for noting only. Yeah, thank you. Recommendation 7 and 17 are noted. Now we shall move on to the recommendation which require a straightforward vote on of in favor or against the or abstentions. These are the recommendations at paragraph 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18, and 19. I shall move all those recommendations myself. Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second those nominations?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any member? Thank you. We will now vote on those items en bloc. All those in favor, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Is it okay? Thank you. The recommendation at paragraph 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, and 18, 19 are carried. I will now move the recommendation of at 11 of the report. I will now move the recommendation at 11 of the report. Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second the recommendation at paragraph 11?
Second that recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
We have two nominations for the position of Vice Chair of Development Control Committee. I will move to the vote on each of them in the order in which the nominations were received. Remember, please vote for only one nominee. All those in favor of Councillor Thompson, please show. All those in favor of Councillor Weddington, please show. Yeah. Carried. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Weddington is appointed Vice Chair of Development Control. Councillor Waddington has been appointed Vice Chair. Finally, we will deal with the recommendation 14. As we have not had any nomination for a substitute on the LCC Health Scrutiny Committee, and we are not obliged to nominate anybody, we will not appoint a substitute member for this municipal year. Next item is item 1B, item 6B on the original agenda, Revenue Final Outturn Report 2025-26. Councillor Lishman, will you please move the report?
Move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, will you please second the report?
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Any member? Councillor Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, finance reports can be quite complex, and I think some will see this report as fantastic news, and others might see some of the details within it as a major concern across the borough. On the face of it, it looks like nothing to see here. We had a budget of £18.7 million last year, and we got a £9,000 underspend at the end of it. But when you drill down into the detail, there's some more underlying issues within the report. First of all, there's carry forwards, which we're asked to approve, of 128,000. That's on top of the 162,000 that we'd already approved in March this year. So that's carrying forward unspent monies into this current financial year. So that, to me, in general terms, said that there's a £300,000 underspend there. But even forgetting that, the really big issue in this report is at paragraph 6. And what it shows you there is we went through the whole year on the assumption that our budget was £18.7 million. And yet 3 months after the year end finished, it's suddenly we were told, and we have been told, that the resources we had available was actually £22 million. Most of that coming from retained business rates, an additional £4.3 million when you look in the detail of the report. We were expecting 6.4 million in retained business rates, and we actually got 10.7 million when you look at the actual details in the report, with 1 million of that given back in certain grants. But that still means that our resources were 3.3 million higher than what we were anticipating or what we were expecting right the way through the last financial year. And I'd say I've never seen an outturn report like this in all my years on the council, where suddenly all these resources suddenly become apparent after the closure of the year end. So I have a number of questions around this, really, because I don't think it's really right that all these resources suddenly become apparent to us after the year end. I believe that the real figure is not a £9,000 underspend, it's actually a £3.6 million underspend if you add it all together. An additional 3.3 million of business rates we got that perhaps we didn't know or expect at that time. I don't know. Perhaps we can find that out in a few minutes' time. 3.3 million plus the £300,000 of carry forwards for tasks that were incomplete in the last financial year, plus the £9,000, which to me gives a total underspend of 3.6 million. Now, as I say, some people could say that's fantastic news, and we've done great, let's put it in the bank, let's carry on. But perhaps residents out there will think, hold on a minute, why aren't we spending this £3.6 million on improving our services and getting better delivery from our service units? So I do have a number of questions. One, why are we only finding out now about the resources that were obviously available during the financial year? Secondly, what are our plans for using this windfall, including help for our businesses who have actually provided all this cash that are now sat somewhere within the council? And can we have some assurances about this year's budget, which is set, I think, at just over 22 million, the net revenue budget, that we aren't going to have a similar situation at the end of the year where suddenly all this money falls from the sky that we didn't know we were going to get, which I think people were very surprised about. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lishman, please. Good enough.
I think Councillor Townsend poses some interesting questions. I'm sure that he may well have had an answer to some of them already, particularly around the business rates, where I believe, I can't quite remember the exact amount, and I'm sure my officers will tell me if necessary, but we did have a late receipt of rather a large chunk of business rates owing to the council. So it's not a windfall, it's actually funding that was owed by businesses to the council for services that have been rendered to them. And I think that's an important point to raise. With regard to the carry forwards, I find it interesting that Councillor Townsend raises it now. We've looked at carry forwards all the way through each of the reports that we've presented at each quarter. And I can assure you that each of those carry forwards have been examined carefully to see whether they are right and pertinent to move forward. It is not something sometimes that it is anything the council can do about. When there's a carry forward, if there's a scheme that there are delays in either the planning or in some of the equipment that's required, then the funding has to be carried forward as a result. We have not had a windfall. I wish we had, but we haven't. But I can assure you that the accounts as you see before you are accurate and show the true state of the finances of this council.
All those in favour, please show. Yeah. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you. Those recommendations are approved. Moving on to next item, 1C, item 6C on the original agenda, final capital outturn position 25-26. Councillor Lishman, will you please move the report?
Move the report, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Anwar, will you please second the report?
Second the report, Mr Mayor.
Any member? Mark Townsend.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And what I want to focus on primarily is recommendation C in the report, which is the approval of a budget for this financial year based on what happened in the last financial year. So the budget is increasing from £24.8 million, which is what we agreed in March, to 30.6 million today, which is an increase of 5.8 million, much of which is explained within the report in terms of slippage from last year's programme into this year's programme. But I think there are some areas in there that do require further exploration. And let me just be clear right at the outset, this group, agrees totally with the list of projects and the strategic intent from the projects within the programme. There's just some, what I would call, issues within the budget approvals, I think, that need to be raised and just at this moment in time. And I've got three particular projects in mind which have increased their budget, but there don't appear to be any reasoning at all within the report of why the increase, how it's going to be funded, and does the project still make sense with the increased budget. And the three I want to look at, one is Calder House DigiHub, which in June last year, we approved a budget of £250,000. And now that's increased to £305,000, so a 22% increase. And it came, when it first came to this council, it was supported by a business case that was questioned in detail, and we agreed to provide the £250,000. Now there looks to be an increase of 22%, but there's no detail of why we should be doing that. And I think that's just an area, when we're approving such big numbers like £30 million, that we should have the detail of how they're being funded and what this additional money is for. The second one is the youth zone, and that's similar. In July 25, we agreed £300,000 for basically design work. Now, if you look in this report, it's now gone up by another 50,000, a 17% increase. Again, no reasoning provided of why the increase is needed, how it's going to be funded, where the money's coming from, and does the project still make sense? We've gone through this again in a detailed way and agreed the way forward. And I will just add on this one that the executive or somebody was supposed to provide a report to scrutiny by the end of June this year in terms of how the project was going and basically how the funding was working. And that hasn't been done either. And that was by resolution of this council that should happen. Former Councillor McGowan was the mover of that motion. And the final one is Woodtop School. Now, to anybody who's not on planning, last November, they'll think, why are we spending £500,000 on a building that's basically on its backside on Accrington Road with the roof caved in, and yet all we see in this report is one line item that says Woodtop School, £500,000. Now, for those who were on planning last November, we probably know that it's towards a demolition. But the fact is, it's not in the report. It should really say that. To anybody who wasn't on planning last November, you'd think, what the heck are we doing spending all this money on that project? Again, it doesn't say what it's for, where the money's coming from. So all I'm basically saying to the executive member is, if we're going to be approving increases in budgets in the future for any projects, the report does need to outline why it's being done and what it's for and where the money's coming from, which should really, and it is in the vast majority of cases. I've never seen a case like this really before, where that doesn't happen. And I would just ask that in all future occurrences, it does happen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour, please show. Sorry, I
Thank you,
didn't see
Mr. Mayor. I think the point raised is a fair one. I think it's a shame that you didn't feel able to come and have a conversation, because I think if there is an error in how we're reporting, then it would be helpful to have that pointed out. I think there are perfectly reasonable reasons in relation to all three of those that you've highlighted. I will ensure that a report goes out to all members that shows that. And I take on board your point about the youth zone and a report to scrutiny. And I will try to ensure with my colleagues that we have one available at the next scrutiny meeting. But it's a shame we can't have a conversation about these things sometimes.
Any member? No? All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Councillor Hosker? Is there abstention? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Thank you. Those recommendations are approved. I'll move on to the next item. Item 1D, item 6D of the original agenda, annual treasury management review of 2025-26 activity. Councillor Lishman, will you please move the report?
Move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, will you please second the report?
Second report, Mr. Mayor.
Any member? No? I'll move on to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions, please show. You all right? This item is carried. Moving on to the next item, item 2, item 7 on the original agenda, reports from committee chairs. Can members please note, for this item, they should not refer to named individuals or specific addresses when asking questions or making observations. Questions on delegated functions such as licensing and planning should be directed to the relevant committee chair rather than to executive member. Where issues relate to proceeding held in the private, members should not make references which could lead to the identification of the participants. Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Brown, will you move the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the report and just make a couple of short
Thank
comments. Just make a couple of short comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So it's been good to see new members of the committee getting stuck in. We've had a big change in the membership of the committee over the last few months, so it's good to see newer members getting stuck in and asking good questions. It's always really good to see. Just wanted to thank officers as well for their time, because it's been really valuable to myself as a new chair. Like I say, it's been really important for me, and also with the scrutiny review group, which was set up and subsequently dismantled. Again, thanking officers for their time there, which was really valuable. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Moving on, Audit and Standards Committee. Councillor Whitaker, will you move the report, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will be moving my report, but just before doing so, I'm pleased this evening that this council has actually shown yet again in consolium, wisdom in council. I'm grateful that Councillor Townsend obviously withdrew his motion earlier on, and I welcome that decision. I would also like to thank councillors, cross-party, who actually stood up and spoke in support of my integrity and competence at the last full council meeting. Also, not just here, but privately immediately afterwards, because I know many of you actually wanted to speak, and I thank you for that. I'd like to thank members of the public, and especially my branch members, many of whom are here this evening, for that support. So I'm now going to move on and move the audits and standards report, and I'm quite happy to take any questions on the matter.
Any member? Councillor Birtwistle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Annual Code and Conduct Report. I was astonished to read this, to see there are 26 councillors presently under investigation by the conduct report. There are 45 of us in this council chamber. That would suggest that over half the councillors here tonight are under investigation for breaking council rules. Can Councillor Whitaker please explain to us, is that figure 26 correct? If so, how long does it take to sort out the complaints so that we don't see things like this on the council chamber again? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Birtwistle, in answer to your question, there's obviously you've got the report in front of you. It clearly states that during the 2025-26 municipal year, the council's monitoring officer received a total of 26 complaints, which you are correct in stating. These are regarding the conduct of members of the Borough Council, 2 against parish councillors and none against town councillors. Of the 26 complaints, 3 complaints were against 2 councillors. 9 of the 26 complaints were against the same councillor on a Facebook post. Now, you also may have noticed that the complaint against the parish councillor, if you have indeed read the report, has not been completed yet. It is still ongoing. The reason for this is the parish councillor has not engaged with council officers. Therefore, the council can, at this stage, cannot currently close that report. The report against the borough councillor, which I mentioned earlier, who I will not name for obvious reasons, that cannot be concluded at this moment in time as it is subject to a further investigation, not by the council, but by other authorities. So I hope I've answered your questions there, Councillor Birtwistle. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Any other member? No? All right, moving on to next, licensing committee. Councillor Kelly, will you move the report, please?
Mr. Mayor, happy to remove my report.
Thank you. Any member? Moving on to the next one. Development control. Councillor Haskar, will you move the report, please?
I move my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any member? Thank you. Moving on to next item, item 3, item 8 on the original agenda, strategic plan progress report. Members do not refer to named individuals or specific addresses when asking questions or making observations. I will take each report in order. I will ask for any questions on the report, and the executive member will respond to a number of questions. The same procedure will then be followed for observations. Can I remind members with a question or observation to clarify, quote the page number and reference, please, and allow time for the executive member and everyone else to find it their agenda pack. Members should note that PF20 covers more than one executive portfolio: leader, resources and performance, and community and environmental services. Members should therefore ensure they are asking questions of the correct portfolio holders. To help members, the text relevant to a particular exec member is in black text in the strategic committee column of the report. If the text is light gray, those aspects are contained elsewhere. Will members please concise with their questions and observations? Leader. Councillor Anwar, will you please move your report?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I will move my report, and in doing so, I just want to draw members' attention to a couple of items on there. There are a number of things that are now outdated because things have progressed because of the adjournment of the original meeting. First item I want to just draw everybody's attention to is that just to congratulate all of the schools and individuals, young people who took part in the primary engineer programme. Fantastic programme. Now, it was a pleasure to actually go and attend the awards ceremony that they had, which seems like quite some time ago now. But I just want to draw everybody's attention to the one little lad who was in year 4 who created he was sick of, and I'm sure you've all been there, of the fact that when you open a tube of Pringles and you want to get down to the bottom, to the very last Pringle, and it can get really, your arm can get stuck. And he'd created this device. It's a year 4 boy who's created this device that would then push that final Pringle up so you can hold it in your hand and crunch on it. And I was just really excited by that. I thought, but I just wanted to draw. But it just shows the creativity and the how young people think, and I think that's what young people do. And some of the things that they will go off to do in the future is something that should be celebrated. And that achievement should be recognised. And he was a lovely little lad. He was really, really excited. But also, he went to Hessenford Primary School. And I'm not being biased, but I think all the best people went to Hessenford Primary School. And again, just to draw your attention to a couple of other items. With regards to the Great Barn at Gawthorpe Hall, I wasn't able to attend the official opening that took place for the barn, but what a fantastic asset it is for our borough and to have that. And I look forward to working in partnership with those who are running activities, not just at Gawthorpe Hall, but also the barn, in really sending that message out and getting increasing the number of visitors, because it's just a fantastic space. And to see it being back in use and bringing it back into use will be absolutely fantastic. So looking forward to how we do that. And I know there's an event planned where bondholders will get the opportunity to have a look around there as well. The other couple of items, again, just to draw members' attention to is obviously, again, seems quite some time ago now, but I think it's fantastic that this council was awarded the Council of the Year award at the LGC Awards. And that is testament to, it's easy for me to stand here and say it's happened under this leadership or this administration, but I think the fact is that it's, and this is something that the judges recognise, is that over the past 25 years, various administrations and under various different leaderships, what's happened is, as a borough, as an administration, as a council, what we've done, all of us who have anything to do with Burnley, what we've done is we've changed the narrative about our town. We might squabble sometimes over little things, but actually what we've done is we've changed the narrative. And one of the things that the judges commented on, and it's in there in the report, is that this council has demonstrated exceptional work in place leadership and community cohesion. The judges were inspired by the council's passion and fearless leadership. And as I said, this isn't now, this is over the years, over the past 25 years, with outstanding results in areas from housing to working with business partners, where actually the bondholder scheme was something that was really highlighted, and transforming the narrative about this place and its communities. And they recognise that nowhere else in the country has changed the narrative about its place like Burnley has, and what we've done and what we've achieved over the past 25 years. And then to come as runners-up in the MJ, and again, improving on our last year's achievements is absolutely fantastic. And as I said, I want to thank all members, all of our officers, but actually this award, it belongs also to the people of the boroughs, to people of Burnley as well, both of those awards. I want to congratulate everyone on that. And in terms of how far we've come as a town, I just want to again draw people's attention to, there was an incident a few weeks ago, where there was an altercation on one of our new housing estates. And it's something that could have got really, really out of hand. But actually what happened was those residents decided that they didn't want an altercation, whether it be based on ethnicity or culture or just difference that they might have living in. They didn't want that to turn into something that people could use to cause division in our town. So what them residents did is what they actually decided to do was have a barbecue where every single resident, every single family in that community was invited. And over this weekend, they pulled together and showed actually what this town, what the people of this town are about, is that this is our home and it's something that should be celebrated. And I would like to give a shout out really to two people, one of them, Akib Khan and Nadia, who led on that estate, and just to say thank you for showing that and actually showing the best of Burnley as part of that as well. And then just finally, again, something that's outdated is around the LGR decision that hadn't been announced. And I'm sure everybody will have seen the decision that has come about, which is that the option 4, which is the one that was being pushed by colleagues in the south of Lancashire, which was South 4, Unitaries for Lancashire, which puts, in my view, and I'm sure members will agree as well, is that the 4 option puts some of the most deprived districts that we have in Lancashire, creating possibly one of the most deprived and challenging authorities in the whole of the country. It's something that we didn't want, but it is something that we've been given by the government. And so what we have to do is, all of us now, is that we have to put all of our efforts into making sure that we deliver the best that we can for our residents. And there's other things, again, in terms of the way the makeup of the joint committees as well. The information that's come out as a result of that as well. And these are things that I warned about 12 months ago, which was that it would be something that would look like a Blackburn takeover. And the way that the government is pushing a lot of how the joint committees, how the deputy SROs and everything will work, it looks like it will be a Blackburn takeover. But I want to just reassure all of our members that we'll be doing everything that we can to ensure that Burnley's voice is heard and that we have proper representation. I have written to the Minister, who has then since lost his job, to air my views on, in terms of what I think about the decision about Pennine or East Lancashire and putting all of those districts together. And not yet had a response, but will be looking to write to the new Minister to again express our views, but also to ensure that any joint committee that is formed and how the roles of the deputy SROs are put together, make sure that we have representation from Burnley. But what I would welcome is views from members. So before I do write back to government, to the new Minister, I can hopefully we can get support cross-party from all group leaders to share what we feel, but also what we would like going forward as well. Because in the proposals that were put forward by the south of the county, in their own report, one of the things that they recognised that there would be a £40 million funding gap for this Pennine Authority from day one. And is government going to fund that gap? And again, that's something I've written to the previous minister, but I think something, if we can do something collectively and group leaders would like to put their name to something that we put in, I would be more than happy to do that. But I will take any questions that any members have on anything that I've mentioned there. Thank you, Mr.
Any questions? Please make sure that you have the right page number and whether it's a question or observation. Councillor Shah Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PF20, page 167. I was going to my question was around local government reorganisation. Councillor Anwar has given us some update on it. And I'll make some observations afterwards, but my question is, he mentioned that it looks like a Blackburn takeover. Can he expand on that and tell us why does he think it's a Blackburn takeover? Blackburn takeover. Thank you.
Councillor Bert Whistle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It relates to PE1. I believe it's on page 166. Regarding the primary engineer, I think it's a fantastic success story, this. But I would just like to ask the council leader, following the events that they do and the experience that they have being engineers, is the careers advice offered to the elder members of the numbers that attend the primary engineer courses? Because they might go to the courses, but are they aware of the future that they could have, particularly working in engineering. So do we, is there a careers advisor on site who can give advice for the future of the jobs for the young people that attend the primary engineering facility?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PL10, page 169. It refers to the climate change strategy progress updates for 25-26. I'm reading the report here that the climate change officer that we have, the position has now become vacant. Is that position going to be filled up again? I seem to remember the salary for that individual was around about £49,000 per year. I think they've been in place for 3 or 4 years. I've not personally seen anything other than the odd email here and there. Is that position going to be replaced, or are we going to revert to actually just opening a window and seeing if it's raining, whether we need to take an umbrella or not? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, like Councillor was saying, I'll probably say something under observations about reorganisation, but PF20 reorganisation, just a question. I know Councillor Anwar gave us a good update there in terms of his concerns, and he's written already to the government about that. Could I just ask, anywhere within that letter did he mention a mayor? Because I think ultimately this has all got to be towards an end, which is basically putting in place a mayoral authority. If we ended up with just 4 unitaries and no mayor, then the whole thing will have been a waste of time. So can I just ask, is he pushing the prospects of a Lancashire mayor? Personally, I think we should be trying to get one as soon as possible. And if we could have an election in May 2027, I'd be absolutely delighted if we can get that in place sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Any other member? No, we will move on. Any observations?
Thank you, Mr. Yeah, we'll move to observations. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I'm going to take each question as it came through. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First one is around what I perceive, or what the government is showing to be, is around Councillor Hussein's question around the Blackburn takeover. And the reason I say that is that from the off, I've always said, my opinion has always been that this was one individual who didn't want Chorley, South Ribble and West Lancs to be joined up as a part of an authority with Preston. And it was because of the strings he could pull with former ministers. We were basically told, in a nutshell, that the decision had been made 12 months ago, and we tried to fight it. And we were told to go through this process, and it's been a wasted exercise. But why does it feel like a Blackburn takeover? And the reason for that is the following correspondence that we've had from government, which in the way that the joint committees would be made up. Now, in a fair and transparent way, what I would want is, if we're having a joint committee that's going to be set up, I as leader would represent our district on there. But also on there would be membership or representation from opposition groups as well. That would be my preferred option, so that we've got cross-party representation on a joint committee that goes forward. But the letter that's come from government actually states that the joint committee for the Pennine Authority will be made up of 4 district members. So that would be 1 leader from each of those districts. It would be made up of 4 members from the county council. Okay, so there would be county councillors from that division. And then the unitary authority, which in this case is Blackburn, would end up with 8 members on that joint committee. So even if us county councillors, all of our county councillors from Burnley, or from East Lancashire, and all the district leaders agreed on something, we would still have the same number of representatives as what the unitary has. But then to top it all off, the unitary also get the casting vote, they get the chair. So it defeats the object of us even being in that room. And so any decisions that are going to be made, and so one of the things that I have done is I've pushed back on that and I've challenged that, because I'm not going to accept that. Because I think, and there's no evidence to prove it, but there's obviously conversations that have been had behind closed doors, which have meant, because that's not the letter that we signed up to as leaders, that Lancashire leaders sent through, because we said any committee formation would be agreed locally. But this is what's come back from government. Now, there's no evidence to suggest any of that, but all we can do is fight that, and I'm pushing back on that. And that's why I make the comment of this is something that would be a Blackburn takeover, but we will fight that. But what it does is, most importantly, what it does is it sets us off. As I said, the decision has been made. These districts, we're going to start on day one with a deficit of, a funding gap of £40 million. But the decision has been made, and what we have to do is that we can, complain about it. Or what we can do is roll our sleeves up and say, you know what, we're going to make the most of this. We're going to take on this challenge, which I believe that the people of Burnley and the people of Pennine Lancashire will do. We will make a challenge of that. But you've got to get off on the right foot, and you've got to make sure that when you get on, it's it's everything that you're doing is fair and it's transparent and it's a level playing field. That's what we've got to work towards, and it's not. And again, it also goes towards the decision that has been made by government around the deputy SRO. So the SRO, senior responsible officer, will be from the county, which makes sense because they've got the biggest footprint. But the deputy SROs is something that should be again decided by leaders and decided here local level. Government said no, the deputy SRO must be from the unitary authority. Well, that's saying that, well, actually, so the chair, from a political point of view, will be from Blackburn, and the deputy SRO must also be from Blackburn. Where does that leave Pendle, Burnley, Hyndburn, Rossendale? With no voice whatsoever, and that is the bit that's not transparent, that's the bit that's not fair. And I will be fighting that, we'll be challenging that all along the way, and I think that's something that I would hope that every single group on this council would be able to back me in doing so. So hopefully, the council is saying that answers your question in terms of where we're at with this. And also, and I think this is something that's really important, is that when things are done in our local authorities or anywhere in our town, it's us as politicians, the elected members, right? We make decisions, and we are the ones who sometimes take the flak, and sometimes rightly so, from the public who hold us to account, because that's what we're there for. But what seems to be happening here with the way Blackburn are operating, it seems to me that it's the officers at Blackburn who are calling the shots, and the leaders are not having any say in this. But I will be challenging the leader of Blackburn. I will be challenging other leaders, and I actually say this, and I'm saying this live and publicly, calling out the other leaders from the other districts, is that they need to stand up and speak up, not just for their own areas, but for the whole of Pennine Lancashire. And I'm putting this on the record and saying that to them. So if they're not watching this, I will share this clip with them as well. They need to be aware of this. They need to stand up for their own districts, if not for Pennine Lancashire. So that goes to all of them leaders who are going to be sitting around the table with us as part of Pennine Lancashire. In terms of, Councillor Birtwistle, in terms of your question around careers advice, I do believe there are a number of organisations that do then follow up and provide careers support. But what I will say is that careers advice and guidance, what it was when I was at school, when we were at school, because those of my age, is not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be, and the support that's provided is in terms of careers advice for young people, and particularly in high schools, is not what it used to be, and it needs to improve. And I think you're absolutely right. There's something more needs to be done around that, and that's where I think sometimes, and we see, especially with our bondholders, a lot of those businesses step in and provide that support. With regards to Councillor Whitaker, your question around climate change, yes, I know the officer has found a new job and has moved on, and I know you mentioned it in jest in terms of what has is climate change, just looking outside and putting up an umbrella. But I think we can't underplay the impact of climate change. We only need to see the devastation that's been caused by the wildfires across Europe. We're seeing the devastation caused by wildfires across our own country, and also obviously the hot summer that we've had and the impact that can have. So I think to say that in jest around climate change, it is a reality. But I think what we have always done here at Burnley is that we recognise we're a small district authority. There are small things that we can do, small changes that we can make, and whatever we can make, we will try to do our best to make sure that we don't have a negative impact on our environment and on our planet. Because at the end of the day, just like we're here in this chamber as custodians of this council, In the same way, we are custodians. We're here for a very short period as on this planet, and we need to make sure that we leave it in a better place for those who come after us and for future generations. So I think that's really, really important. And in terms of the final question from Councillor Townsend, the mayoral question, I absolutely agree with Councillor Townsend. I think that the conversation needs to be moving towards a mayor. It is something that we agreed as Lancashire leaders, but some of the members are pulling back on that and starting to change their mind on whether they want a mayor. But I think the failure here, and again, this is not having a go, but I think the failure here is that a couple of years ago, when we had the Convention of the North take place in Lancashire, in Preston, Angela Rayner and Jim McMahon were the ministers at the time, and they told us then that by May 2026, we would have a mayor for Lancashire. And they failed to deliver that. They failed to deliver that, and that was an opportunity. And I think that, again, as I said, it's not having a go who's done it, but the fact of the matter is that they had an opportunity to do that, and they didn't. For whatever reason, that was pulled back and pushed back. So hopefully that's answered everybody's questions. So I'll move on to observations, Mr. Mayor.
Questions? Councillor Shah, Councillor Birtwistle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. PF 20, page 167. It's based on LGR. Councillor Anwar, thank you for a comprehensive answer to why Blackburn takeover. I can understand the frustration, and to me, it seems like we've got an opportunity to, after 50 years, we have an opportunity to look at how local authorities or how local services can operate. For me, the status quo is not right. It's County Hall decisions. 80% of our decisions are being made at County Hall. That is the reason why you got 4 representatives on this committee that Councillor Anwar was talking about. So for me, it has to change. It has to be, decision making has to come closer. Now, with the Blackburn takeover, this is what I disagree. And I liked Councillor Anwar's challenge to other district leaders about stepping up and making sure that it isn't a Blackburn takeover, and that local authorities, district authorities in East Lancashire make sure that it is fairly done. And, it will be fairly done. Come May 2027, there'll be an election to this shadow authority, and that will be based on demographics, on population sizes. And that will tell you that it won't be a Blackburn takeover because, over 340,000 people live outside of Blackburn. So, I think we should embrace it. And I like Councillor Anwar's response and a challenge to other local authority leaders, district leaders, to step up and to make sure that it isn't a Blackburn takeover. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It relates to the question I asked earlier about the primary engineering, and I'm delighted to hear that the council leader agrees with me that careers advice given to young people this day is nothing like it was when he was around. Well, let me assure you, I was around a lot earlier than he was, and careers advice was given then at schools. And there were thousands and thousands of apprenticeships across the country for engineers. We're told now there are 1 million young people who are not working. They're out of work, that really have no prospects. Yet in this country, we have some of the finest engineering companies in the world, producing some of the finest products in the world, and yet they're struggling to find people to do the work. This, to me, is a tragedy. This is a tragedy that we need to resolve. And young people need to be taught, to be advised on the routes forward at school, when they finish school, than what they are now. I mean, Tony Blair said education, education, education was the most important thing in life. Well, I agree with him in some respects. Education is important. But there are young people who don't want to go on to be educated, and have all the fancy qualifications and finish up with massive debts. There are young people who want to be apprentice engineers. There are young people that wish to be apprentice plumbers, apprentice joiners, and things of that nature. We need to really emphasise to schools and to like the primary engineers, which is a fine example that there are other life outside of university. When I was the MP, I was fortunate to go to the British Airways servicing department at Heathrow. There were so many different jobs servicing an aeroplane that had just come in to be serviced. There was engineers looking at the engines. There were engineers looking at the control systems. There were even people looking at carpet fitting. There were engineers looking at the televisions in the screens on the seats. There were engineers looking at everything on the airplane. And British Airways told me we struggled desperately to get young people to come and join us because these are hands-on jobs. And young people don't want to do hands-on jobs. They want to sit in front of computers in nice warm offices. This is not the future. We need young people, I agree, doing the AI and doing all the jobs that need to be computer literate. But there are hundreds of young people in Burnley who would fit into being engineers of the future if they were advised that that was the case. And the primary engineer here is an absolute example of what the future could be. And if a young man can design something that this future engineer that's as simple as getting the last Pringle out of the tube, then that guy is the guy of the future. He could be designing parts of aeroplanes in the future. If he can think of how to get the last Pringle out of a tube, somebody needs to introduce him to Pringle, and they can design a machine that helps them doing that or makes it easier to get the last Pringle out. So I welcome this, and I really hope that the education department put careers advisors in schools so they can really explain what future jobs are available when you don't need to go to university. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mark Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just say that listen to the council leader, and basically, I must admit, I absolutely share his concerns, frustrations, and anger. Sorry, I should have said PF20 reorganisation 167 page. Share his concerns, the frustrations, and the anger in terms of where this has all got to. Basically, in terms of the solution that governments are putting in place in Lancashire is the worst of all worlds. I'll probably say that. Perhaps it was very close to the 2 option that County Council were proposing, but certainly it wasn't even the best of the 4 options, and there are only 2 of them. So we seem to have ended up in a really bad place in terms of the solution that has actually been sent down to us. And I share absolutely his anger about these joint committees and the structures and the way they've been set up. The last thing anybody wanted was that it looks like a Blackburn takeover. What I would say is that the first 12 months are critical. Like, these joint committees will be set up and they'll start doing work. The big danger is that all the work that the joint committee does up until May next year, when the new councillors are put in place to take on the job, will be redundant, because those 95 councillors across this new authority will probably look at that work suspiciously. Now, I'm a bit less concerned about going forward in it not being seen as a Blackburn takeover, because ultimately there will be 95 councillors on this body, of which, and I think I might be, I think I'm pretty close to it here. 18 will be from Burnley, 18 from Pendle, 18 from Hyndburn, 15 from Rossendale, and that comes to 69 out of the 95. So there will be a majority outside of Blackburn that can keep balances and checks within the authority. So I'm not overly concerned about it being seen as a Blackburn takeover long term, but certainly I can see it being a concern in these first 12 months where the work this joint committee does, which is extremely important, won't be trusted by those 95 councillors, or certainly those that reside outside of Blackburn. In terms of, and I'm encouraged, we have to strike a balance now. We do have to start looking forward. The decisions have been made, and we can't keep fighting the old battles. It's really important that we take a positive approach to what is in front of us. We now have to do absolutely the best for our residents with the hand that we've been dealt, which obviously isn't the hand that we wanted, but we must ensure that we get on with it and we strike the right balance between resistance and positive thinking about the future ahead. And just finally, coming back to one thing Councillor Anwar said about a mayor, and basically it being said by Angela Rayner and Jim McMahon that there would be one by May 26th. That may have been the case, but I don't know whether the council leader is saying that the Minister and the Secretary of State should have imposed one. I'm sure what they were hoping was that the leaders of Lancashire would come to the conclusion that there is going to be a mayor and let's agree to one. But that's never happened. And basically, we can't have it both ways, where we expect government to impose certain things at certain times because it suits our narrative, and then the opposite at other times. We've got to be consistent in terms of how we want government to behave. But I think we can all accept, and I think Councillor is saying hit the nail on the head, that the current local government situation is intolerable. When government look at it, Lancashire, it's a shambles. And they'll say, how can we deal with Lancashire in its current mode, where you've got a Lancashire County Council, 2 unitary authorities and 12 districts who never agree on anything, or very little, or that's what it seems like. So how could you give those, a situation like that, control of some elements of income tax, business rates, and 30 million quid a year and expect it all to work out? It wouldn't. And that's why they've had to go through this local government reorganisation model. But basically, I'd like to just put on record, thanks to the council leader for fighting the battles against this situation. But I think we just have to strike the right balance going forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oscar,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think we should keep on fighting. As an observation, we should keep fighting. Because I'm telling you now, Anwar, I never like the idea of going in with Blackburn. But nobody in Burnley, Padiham and Upton want to go in with Blackburn. We're just getting thrown in. And if we'd have had any decency, this government, they'd give us the public a referendum. You represent this area as MPs, all of Ryan included. You should have given the people a say. We've had no say. And as a result, we've just been thrown in. And like you've just said about the chair and the vice chair, I always remember going back into the 70s, Anwar. Let me just tell you this one. When Padiham and John Hall will remember it well. When Padiham Urban District Council were going to go in with Burnley, you're going to get this and you're going to get that. We got sod all. And I'll tell you this now, Burnley got most of it, and that's not having a go at Burnley. They got most of it. Padiham felt left out. And I'm telling you now, when we go in with Blackburn, you'll get nothing.
thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. P1, page 166, I guess. I would firstly like to disagree with the council leader's previous comments, because all the best people obviously went to Holy Trinity CAV Primary School in the Trinity Ward. If you can humour me, I just want to give a big thank you to the officers that supported the summer school that I ran as part of my day job. Over 2 weeks, they provided some sessions on local government and council decision making to 30, 16 to 18-year-olds from Burnley and Padiham who are interested in politics. So I just wanted to give a big thanks to Foggy, Amora and Fasana and Democracy, and Rob Dobson for taking time out of their busy diaries to do that for them. They all really loved it, and the mock council debate was voted by many of them as their favourite part of the week. They like shouting at each other across this chamber, apparently. And I thoroughly enjoyed Foggy letting me join them in trying on the mayor's chains that I'll never actually get to wear. That was great fun. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to move back on to and make an observation on PE1, page 166, so just about the youth involvement and kind of careers guidance. Being probably one of the youngest members in this chamber, is just to reflect back on the time when, back in 2010, when career service was actually when the government got rid of it. It was a coalition government, and I believe it was the Tories. Councillor Burtwhistle, I believe you were a part of that at that point. You know, in that, but looking back at that and looking back then, you know, it was the gradual decline of this careers advice that was provided to young people. And, you know, moving forward from us and me, myself being in year 10, going into a very, very important time of my life when I was to make important decisions about my future. And I recall that time seeing the decline, and now the children of today are suffering because they don't have that advice there. So definitely, I think it's something to look into where we bring them services back to guide young people in the right direction. Thank you very much.
So now we are moving on to,
Councillor Anwar, to respond to the observations.
yes, Councillor Anwar.
Oh,
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just going back to the point on the MER, so we've seen in places like Manchester and London, having a MER in place, you know, it does attract the extra funding. Despite Lancashire leaders asking the Labour government, so far they have not committed to any extra funding for having a MER in Lancashire. Manchester residents currently pay for, in Band D, an extra £153 extra mayoral preset for having a mayor. Are we really going to ask Lancashire's residents to possibly expect to pay a preset when we don't know what extra funding will be available for that? Thank you, Mayor.
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to take some of these observations, and some of them are linked in terms of what members have said. The first one was around, and I think Councillor Townsend and Councillor Hussain alluded to the same thing around, you know, that it won't be a Blackburn takeover in the long term. But I think Councillor Townsend is right in the sense that, yes, there will be different members who will sit around that, but over the next 12 months, we've got to start on the right footing. At this moment in time, I just seem to be the lone voice for Pennine Lancashire who's raising any concerns, and the other leaders from Pennine Lancashire are not saying anything and are just following whatever it is that the leader of Blackburn or the chief exec of Blackburn are guiding them into, and that's the danger here. So what we need is for them to actually speak up and give an opinion on how they want this to unfold. So I think it's absolutely vital that we all pull together on that, so that actually we do get a balanced view. And so, you know, the number of councillors that we will have that will represent the whole of Pennine Lancashire will be across the board and actually speak up for all of us and not just for that one area. With regards to, you know, in the question that was asked about careers advice, and Councillor Hayat and also Councillor Bertwis alluded to it. So I've got one councillor who was doing careers advice in 2010, and I've got another one who's talking careers advice when Heathrow wasn't even built. So another year it was. So, but it's but they both agree. There might be a disagreement on where we're at with this, but the truth of the matter is they both agree on the fact that more needs to be done in terms of careers advice and guidance for our young people, and that's something that we're dedicated to, and that, you know, we hopefully will be able to push on as well. And in response to the mayoral question, yes, there are some people who want a mayor for Lancashire, and there are others who don't, and you know, and that's why we're in this position. Councillor Townsend's right; it's because leaders have never been able to agree how they want to move forward with it. But if some of us didn't want LGR, some of us did, but government pushed forward with it, and they could have made a decision around that in 2026. And on the precept question for Councillor Bolton is that yes, there will be a precept, but there are some members of our communities who pay a precept for their parishes as well, and some of the services they get there are questionable. So I think the key question here is that what we need to do is whether government decide to push forward with a mayor, and whether we go to, or leaders want to push forward that decision, is something that you know, we're going to see how that unfolds. But also, I think finally, to is the mayoral authority, yes, it does bring in the most funding, and you know, that's if we want to bring down the most cash, the most investment for Lancashire, it will be down a mayoral route. But also, sometimes I think some people can be good at marketing as well. So, look at Burnham and the Greater Manchester model as well. A lot of investment has actually gone into Manchester and Salford, but not in places like Oldham and Rochdale and Bury, other areas. So is it the panacea? Is it the answer to everything? Or is it just about good marketing? But what we've got to do is we recognise that will bring down the most amount of funding. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a quick point of order? I don't wish to correct the council leader, but there won't be an extra precept for a mayor. A mayor gets police and crime commissioner powers, which if you look on your council bill at the minute, you currently pay for a police and crime commissioner precept. That disappears and has a mayor title on it anyway, and you pay the same. Thank you.
Right, we'll move on to the next report, which is Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Resources and Performance Management. Councillor Lishman, will you please move your report?
Move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any question, Councillor Hussain?
Mr. Mayor, I'm just looking at the, I need reading glasses, Mr. Mayor. I've gone old. And
I'll lend you mine.
page 169,
Do you want me to hold it over?
yeah, it's okay. It's with regards to business rates. I think it's come under PF 19. And Mr. Mayor, and throughout the road work that's been happening for the last 6 months in Burnley, will probably be more than that. Shops down Manchester Road, Town Centre, in my ward down Corn Road, and have been suffering. These are businesses. And there's one business that I know that has been in existence on Corn Road for nearly over 20 years. And the works has caused such a problem that they're really using his own personal credit card to pay for these sort of issues. I did send an email to council officers to look through it, and I just want to get some assurances from the executive member if they can support these businesses who are going through this rough time because of these disruptions, whether it's on Manchester Road, whether it's on Corn Road, and we've recognised that. Councillor Mark Townsend said something about business rates and the surplus, and if we can support small businesses with that. My question is, can you please provide support to small businesses who have suffered during this road works, whether it's in the town centre along Manchester Road and in places like Corn Road? With regards to business rates, some of them have been getting court letters. If you can please ask officers to speak with these businesses and support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Richmond, I'm bringing this up tonight. I'll be choosy with the words when I'm talking to you. It's about Acton and these trees. The parish council have been on to the ward councillors, me, Stephen and Joanne. And like so, if you want an update, this issue has now been going on since Good Friday. I know when me and Jamie McGowan, who used to be on council, talked to you, we got told we couldn't say a thing about him. That's fair enough. It's a legal case and that's fine. But other people, the members of the public we serve, aren't taking too well to that answer. So what I want you to try and do tonight, please, is try and assure me that this is taking shape. Apton's been left in the state as it is with them trees being cut down. Being not happy about no prosecutions for the trees being cut, which is against the law of the land, not Burnley Council. I'm on about the Great Britain law. Should cut them down nesting season. No action was taken by Lancashire Police. They're disappointed. I serve them. I'm disappointed. The site itself is a tip. And it's an eyesore. Every time you go past it, it's a mess. So every time somebody drives past it, Councillor Lishman, it comes back to me, never thought, when they're going to do something about this. And I can only agree with him. But you've got the legal bit, you're working with the legal team, you're our executive member, so I have to come through you. So I'm asking, please, what's the answers?
No. Yeah.
I'll start with Councillor Shaw. Thank you very much, Hussein. Yes, I think each one of us probably getting here this evening has suffered as a consequence of the roadworks and can empathise with anybody losing money as well. I'll certainly check. I thought officers had that in hand and were dealing with them. And I thought you'd had correspondence, which I'd had copies of to that effect. So if I'm incorrect, I'm sure you'll correct me and I will chase it up. But I was aware that work was going on with individuals who were having problems as a consequence. With regard to the issue in Hapton, Councillor Hosker, I had a meeting, or rather I had a conversation this morning with officers about this. I did send you a note earlier suggesting that we had a conversation outside of the meeting where I could give you detail which I cannot make available here. That offer remains, and I can assure you publicly that our matters are in hand. Regard your observations about the police and them not taking action. I think you've also been advised that you and other members of the public could certainly take action yourselves by raising a complaint with the police about their non-activity on that area. But I am more than happy, outside of this chamber, to give you a more detailed response with regard to what's happening, and I can assure you that things are happening.
Observations? Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just going, sorry, PF 19, page 169, revenue budget, and just going back to the debate that we had earlier, Councillor Lishman, I just want to put on record, because I think you might have been questioning my concern about the accuracy of the accounts. Let me just tell you, I have full confidence in our staff in the finance offices about the accuracy of the accounts. It was really just the basically where this money had come from. But certainly the reporting and the recording and the accuracy of all the records, I put on the record my thanks to our staff who do a wonderful job in treasury management in making sure all that happens. And just finally, obviously, Councillor Lishman, you didn't like the extra £3.3 million that has arrived through business rates as a windfall. I don't know, I don't want to ask a question, but I don't know how else you would describe it other than a windfall when we weren't expecting it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. PF 19, page 170. On the point that Councillor Hussein made about the roadworks and whether this council can do anything to support those businesses, it doesn't, to me, seem fair that Burnley Council should have to pick up the ticket for something that has been caused by Lancashire County Council personally. And I still believe that Lancashire County Council should bring in a compensation scheme for these businesses because how they've handled some of this has been absolutely and utterly awful. The industrial estate at the top of Manchester Road has been affected massively. Planning has not considered them at all when they've been planning works around them. They've shut off the industrial estate with no notice at times. I've been speaking to a business on there that believes that they are approximately £15,000 down since these roadworks started, just in losses alone. And Lancashire County Council do not want to listen, will not reply to any emails on it, and basically say, tough, it'll look nice and pretty when it's done. So as much as I agree with Councillor Hussein that these roadworks have been awful for businesses, I believe there's a business that's closed because of the lack of footfall from them. I don't think it's this council's job to fix it, and I think that we should all be lobbying the county council to do something about it and stop ignoring businesses, especially the ones where they've actually caused damage to the properties and paid them no compensation, like smashed windows. Thank you.
Councillor Lishman?
you, Mr Mayor. I would just say thank you to Councillor Haig for her suggestion. I'm more than happy to take that up, whether it'll get anywhere. But yes, and regards to the others, I don't think there's anything to add to those comments. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
On to next, health, leisure and culture. Councillor Hurd, will you please move your report?
I move my report, Mr Mayor, and I just want to say a few short words. I've got some information, some updates about the report. I was invited to attend the Premier League's Disability Football Foundation Festival a short while ago, which was over 20 teams of young people of varying abilities from all over the region, but even as far as Nottingham attended. And I think it's telling that Burnley was actually chosen to host this event. And I met some fantastic young people, some really passionate people from Burnley football in the community, and also from the Premier League around disability sports. I want to also highlight the fact that our 6 of our parks have been awarded the Green Flag Award, and I think we all have to congratulate the staff and volunteers and everybody involved in keeping all of our parks in such an amazing condition. I was lucky enough to go around most of the parks yesterday as part of a tour of Green Spaces facilities, met some of the staff, met some of the volunteers, and they are absolutely amazing to do the work that they do with the resources that they've got. And I'd also like to add that the Town to Town exhibition is now open. I was lucky enough to be at Townley Hall on the day that the first exhibits came in from the members of the public, and it was everything from simple drawings up to exquisitely carved pieces of sculpture, and it was fantastic to see such a wide variety of items being bought in. And just lastly, the Thompson Park paddling pool is actually finished and it is open. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah. Councillor Brindle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's PL9, page 174, I believe. It's in connection with the paddle tennis courts in Townley Park. I note from this report that the scheme will not be progressed because of the proposals for 14 privately funded paddle courts. Have we any indication of what the council intends to do with the site? The last time I saw it, it was in a bit of a mess. Do we know what the future would be? Thank you.
Kelly.
Mr Mayor. Just about Rakehead Recreation Ground. It was taken over, we did lose it. It was taken over by the hospital for car parking and building while they were doing work. So it looks as if it's obviously going to come back to the council now. Thank goodness, because it is there's a big problem around there with nothing for the children. Could I just ask where the 106 money is coming from? Because in Briarcliff, we've got an awful lot of new building and we were promised some 106 money for play areas. And as far as I know, there isn't much in the way of new building around there that would generate 106 money. Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be relatively brief. It's page 173, PL9. It's regarding the play strategy. Really pleased to see that there's lots going on in Burnley for improving parks and muggers, etc. I know in Whitfield and Arden Hill, I fought very hard for the tennis courts to be refurbished and the basketball courts there, which have all been completed now. But the ground at the side of it, with your predecessor, the former council that held your position, was going to be meeting with me to talk about the mugger at the side of it. We've had plans drawn up for a pump track there that have been costed. I've not had anything back since before the elections. I want to bring that back to your attention, please, because that piece of land is going, not being used at the moment. And I can see on this particular one, there are now going to be ones built on Lockyer Avenue, which is in the adjacent ward of Gamma. So I'd just like an update on that. I know you're a busy chap going here, there and everywhere, but if you can find some time to get on to the officers and perhaps meet with me there to decide what we are going to do with that land. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
No? Councillor Hurt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Brindle, options are currently being explored around the site at Townley that was intended for the paddle. And as soon as we've got any more information, I'll make sure that members are updated. Councillor Kelly, the NHS leased or entered the land for 3 years from the council at the time, which is where the funding is actually coming from for the improvements at Rakehead Recreation Ground. I will make sure that you get more detail on that as soon as I can get it. It's only something that I know a small amount about from previously, but I will ensure that you get the information that you want. And Councillor Whittaker, I do apologise. I don't know anything about that at the moment. I'm quite happy to meet with you and officers and set something up, and I'll try and find out some more information for you as soon as I can, and we'll sort out something in our diaries if that's suitable. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any observations? Councillor Dole?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's page 178, PL9. I've already had some engagement with Councillor Hurd regarding the development of the new Padiham community grocery, and I do thank him for his engagement on that and his very prompt responses to my question. But I'd just like to put on record that I'm very keen to be kept up to date on the progress, as it seems to be quite slow. But I'm also happy to be proactive on this and happy to be involved if that's possible. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Hurd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd just like to say thank you for the questions in advance that you asked me. And I just wish that I got some more information that I could give to you. As soon as we find suitable premises, then I'm sure that will be going ahead. I will ensure that you are kept up to date along with the other ward councillors, and I will pass on your offer of help to the officers as well, so they're aware that that offer has been made, if that's okay with you. Thank you.
Community and Environmental Services, Councillor Ishtiaq, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I move my report, I want to share with colleagues that disappointment about the rise of the antisocial behaviour recently, particularly the old cinema site. I'm fully aware of that, and I will be following that up with the police and the officers. This brings me on to discussion that's been taking place. It's encouraging. The colleagues across the chamber have been talking about young people. And young people are our future, and young people have been disadvantaged because of the respective governments over the years that have been swinging the axe and cut the youth services. We had in this town outreach youth workers working from 6 to right till 10 o'clock. We had youth clubs open that were providing services to young people, as Councillor Birtwistle said, career advice, which I benefited from, just as did Councillor Hayat. So over the years, the funding has been cut, young people have been deprived, and as a consequence, some of the antisocial behaviour we're seeing. But I can assure you that I will be going and doing carrying a site visit and speaking to the police officers and trying to get some answers in terms of what's gone on there, and are we looking at taking some action against some of the young people. Now, I'm going to move on to my report, which was part of this. I'd like to thank my predecessor. This is my first report for predecessor for doing a fantastic work, and also he agreed to answer questions, did you?
No.
No, are you sure? Right, okay. Just some key points from my report. I'm encouraged to see we're making progress in keeping Burnley clean and well maintained. Our rapid response enforcement and clean-up team is ready and delivering positive results. We strengthened our services with additional enforcement officer. Our waste services continue to improve. The new contract is up and fleet is rolled out. Food waste collections are performing well, and more than 8,000 households have signed up to garden waste scheme. Community safety, as I said earlier, is a priority. Unfortunately, we had a recent incident, but otherwise, we are one of the boroughs that are performing really well on that. And our approach in terms of partnership working is looked up on. So we need to congratulate ourselves on that. Finally, council leaders said, and I think we all owe it to our officers, they played a key role in winning the award. And my team in street scene and the portfolio manager, I want to thank them for doing the fantastic work and enabling us to win that award as well. So any questions, I'm happy to take. Thank you.
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's page 179. Sorry, page 181, and it's PL4. And my question to Councillor Ishtiaq is: a few years back, when we introduced the recycling system for homes with large gardens, semi-detached, and so on, we had the big boxes for recycling, but terraced houses still had the boxes and the bags. In my ward, its majority is terraced houses, and one of the complaints that I have constantly is that the blue boxes and the bags tend to, with the wind and weather, tend to go everywhere and cause a lot of problems. My question to Councillor Ishtiaq would be, when they first introduced with the recycling, I was told then, because I raised it then, because I said it was a two-tier system. People well off with big houses were able to get big bins and so on, and people living in terrace houses didn't. And I was told then that it will be rolled out slowly. So my question to Councillor Ishtiaq would be, when are we going to get rolled out recycling bins for terraced houses, large bins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PL4, page 181. Again, it's about waste, to be quite frank with you. We've got a system at this moment in time where recycling trucks, etc., are turning up, specifically in Whitfield and Iron Hill. And there's glass, etc., just left all over the place. I don't know if there's some kind of change in the machinery they're using or not. Another thing of note is, because a lot of people have spoken to me about this, and I've seen it myself, I've had to sweep it up from outside my house. Food waste bags. Now, a lot of people in Whitfield and Iron Hill have run out of these food waste bags because obviously they are trying the best to actually do this. When are the council going to be delivering the new bags to that ward? Going through my emails here when I spoke to Street Scene about it a month or two since, they're supposed to be rolling them out now, from what they're telling me here, but people are still waiting for them, myself being one of them. I'd quite happily come down and collect a box of them so that the mountain of emails I'm getting off people, I'd drop them off quite happily. If you could find out, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Prowl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at page 181, PL4 as well. We've got a number of things to say. Firstly, Councillor Shaw, I absolutely agree. Two-tier system is absolutely how it feels, because them boxes and I have 6 of them pinned to a wall. Storage space is limited in terraced houses, but for those people who are serious about recycling, we're unable to do it. So I think absolutely we need to move on that. But what I want to talk about is the antisocial behaviour. And my question really is, have we looked at the reasons why this crime has increased? And I say all crime because the document says it's not just ASP, all crime has increased across Burnley. Interestingly, at scrutiny yesterday, we had quite a good debate really about HMOs. And one of the things I'm asking is, can we try to look into the reasons of this crime? Because having done some digging today, I can say that most care agencies are buying up cheap property in Burnley to put youngsters in from care facilities, and these care companies are turning these youngsters into cash cows. So we've got problems, and I think that's a lot of the reason is we've got a lot of youngsters coming in from out of area, actually that are all cared for, but being let to play out. So I just do ask, can we please look into the reasons that these people are giving us for why crime has come up? And if we haven't looked at the reasons, can we start to look at the reasons why crime comes up so we know then what we're trying to tackle and trying to fix? Thank you.
Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PL4. I'm not sure what page to say, because what I'm going to ask about isn't actually in the report, which I'm surprised about. I'm going to ask you about the waste transfer station. There's nothing in the report at all, and we are investing a 7-figure sum into this project. So I'm surprised that there isn't at least an update on it. And really, my question surrounds, when we were originally given the schedule for this, development was supposed to start on site, I think, around July time, and we had an end date of March for everything to be in place. It's now August, and when I drove through Hessenford yesterday, there's certainly no spades, there's no sign of anything happening whatsoever. So I'd just like to ask the question, is the plan on target still to have the facilities of the new depot and the waste transfer station in place by March 31st? Because I know the people of Valley Gardens in Hapton are wanting to get some of those lorries off the road and going elsewhere. Whether it's the right place on Hessenford is another question. But really, the question is, are we on schedule? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions on PL4. First, I'd like to thank Councillor Ishitack for his report. Can we not see, is there any targets for the enforcement action, legal notices served, fixed penalty notices? We've got a lot of numbers in there of what's been achieved and fines, but are they based on any, do we have any targets that we're looking to hit as a council? Obviously, we've employed extra staff in some of these areas as well. Are we actually seeing that we are getting a return for those extra resources we put in? The second question is Briarcliff. So I'm getting a lot of reports from residents that especially when glass is being collected, when it's getting crushed into the back of the wagon, there is glass residue being left on the highways. These reports are increasing, so there's obviously something amiss somewhere when we are collecting the waste glass collections. I don't know about other councillors if they've received similar reports across the borough, but can this be looked into as well, please? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Ishtiaq.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, colleagues, for those questions. I'll take them.
You're so good. The training's worked.
Councillor Shaw, yeah, you're right. I was part of the conversation that took place here back when the scheme was being introduced. My understanding is the recycling target and ambitions and putting the right facilities in place, whether it's waste transfer station or whether it's for the residents, households, is ongoing project. So there are discussions, there are things that are being looked at, and it's continuously will be with the contractors. Also, I think what you have to appreciate is some of the terrace houses have very small yard, and to have a big wheelie bin along with the other wheelie bin, is going to limit us. So it's not going to be one size fits all, unfortunately, that if somebody with a big garden's got a wheelie bin and somebody with a terraced house, I don't think having a wheelie bin measures your indices of how well you're doing. It's about practicality as well. Will the wagons be able to, go down the back street? And, in terms of some of the residents may not want the wheelie bins, whereas the others do, and it's not going to work. So, but I can assure you, I will look into it, and we're continuously monitoring that and looking at how we can introduce on the streets where people want the wheelie bin. Councillor Whittaker, thank you for your question. I take on board. Food waste service is, as you know, is a new service, and you have to appreciate it's rolled out really well, and the people are appreciating it, and they're using it really, really well. Let's give the officers credit to get that up and running in a very short space of time when we had the target to meet. So we're doing really well with that. But yeah, there will be a follow-up in terms of bags when they'll be going out. I'll get one of the officers to come back to you. But if you want to pick them up, great. That's even better. Saves a carbon footprint having to go out and deliver them to you. So, but yeah, thank you. Yeah. Very interesting question from Councillor Sproul. Good friend of mine. We have a lot of interesting discussions. Young people, antisocial behaviour, crime, absolutely. It sits in my heart because I've worked with young people for over 2 decades, and I've seen young people turn around their lives when you give them that support, you give them tools, and you see some amazing things that they come out with. I work with young people who were on edge of drug dealing or were rubbing shoulders with wrong people. You give them support, you work with them, they turn their life around, they go back to college, university, and go and contribute to the society. So absolutely. With regard to your question, that what is it, I think you can't just pull it down to one element that, it's multiple factors. Lack of investment in young people, some of the previous governments cutting youth services and career services and opportunities. So it's all, it's many factors that have contributed to the crime, but we shouldn't be complacent. So I think we got to do what it takes. And I look forward to the youth zone. Many of you sat in here supported that. So that's going to be contributing towards reducing the crime. And let's look forward to that. And that's investment, which we should be proud of, every single one of us in here. Councillor Townsend, I'll get back to you on that with the timeline and how we're doing. Is that okay? With regards to the waste transfer station. And as you know, there's been many debates and discussions around that, but I will come back to you on that. Again, Councillor Pilden, very interesting question. And you're right. Have we got a target? I'm sure there is a target, but what I look at things, I see things in a very simple way when I'm out there. Are our streets getting cleaner? Are we seeing less and less back streets with wasting? I used to see colleagues going out week in, week out their time, reporting those. And over the last few weeks and months and stuff, I see less of dirty back streets. So that's an achievement for me. And I think things are moving well, So, we have to, but we don't stop. We've got to keep going. We've got to keep prosecuting people who are committing environmental crime. But I will get back to you on the target. But again, with regards to Brightcliffe waste residue, particularly glass, I'll look at that and we'll get in touch with the contractor and see what can be done to kind of reduce that, because it is dangerous for children playing on the streets or any of the vulnerable people. Thank you very much.
Oscar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to go back to the walking glass, what's piled up outside houses. It's not piled up outside houses, it's piled up in the main road. So when you've got people driving up and down and going in, it's spread all over. I've done it myself. It's someone that ain't got a busted tyre. But the main thing is, it's same for everybody. Why not put it in a safe place? That's all I'm saying. Put it in a safe place. Regarding what Councillor Townsend mentions about the site, are we given assurances that this will going to be ready by May next year? Is that not correct?
Councillor Ishtiaq.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hosker. As I said to Councillor Townsend, I will get back to you in terms of if there is any slippages. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but I can't see it being any far off than what was set out to do. So, you know, I can assure you that our officers will keep pushing for that. And with regards to the your observation about the waste, again, as Councillor Pilton said, we'll look into that and get back to you. And, you know, we can send the message out. Thank you.
Moving on to the next one. Any observation? Councillor Shah Hussain.
PL4. And my observation with regards to, I think a couple of councillors have mentioned it, and glass on back streets and waste around. And this was introduced about 6, 7, 8 years ago, I think. And we were told then that gradually it will be rolled out. I'm disappointed to hear that there isn't a date as yet. It is a two-tier system. When you look at other local authorities, they've rolled it to everybody. They've not highlighted, you got a big garden, you can have it. And in my ward in particular, people want it. I do a regular and volunteer litter pick every Sunday. And that's the thing that people mention to me all the time. Sure, when we put out our recycling, either the wind blows it or, you know, dogs are at it, and, you know, that's why it's all over the back streets. And that's the issue. What you're doing, what the council is doing, is spending more money going and cleaning those back streets. If it were given the appropriate equipment to put this recycling in, we will see a much better recycling rate within those properties. Also, we will see cleaner back streets. I want to see if there is, I need a deadline, I want to see a deadline, a date for these things to be carried out in terms of, and you know, when the council will put this right in terms of the recycling bins. Previously, we were told the previous contractor, it was introduced under the previous contractor, they said they'll do it as the end of their contract happens. Well, we've got a new contractor now. What is the council saying? They need to be specific about this, because if other local authorities can have 3, 4 bins, why can't we? I mean, I like to see this happening, and I will be looking to putting a motion forward for council executive to make that decision, because it needs to happen. Because when I go out on the streets, that's what people are saying. Dirty back streets, it's because stuff are going all the way. And not only that, when it gets collected, it's everywhere. And like the councillor said in Briarcliff, where they've found glasses. Well, same thing in my ward in Dane's House, that there are broken glasses, there are paper and stuff. And it's because people do not have the appropriate equipment to recycle. And I want to see this council executive making a decision on that. And like I said, there'll be a forthcoming motion on it for the council to make a decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PL4, page 181. As per the report, antisocial behaviour has increased in the town centre. We've heard previously about the taxi trade having problems from the youngsters. Has the exec member got any plans on how he will be tackling this? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, it's PL4 again, and it's an observation as well as a suggestion, hopefully on a practical basis that would give Councillor Shah some ideas. Recently, I was in Conway in North Wales, and it must have been bin collection day. And nearly all the smaller terraced houses that I passed had their bins out, the small bins, the blue ones like you have, but instead of putting them out, they were stacked neatly on what were the old-fashioned porter type trolleys. So they only took up the space of one. They only had just take up the space of one normal sized bin, but they were stacked in 4. It was tidy, there was no overspill, and I'm sure it would have been a lot easier for the tenants to put those bins out and for the collection to make them as well. Just an option to think of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try and speak on the right microphone this time as well. Just a couple of observations. Councillor over there asked about what targets we have for these fines. As far as I know, the only targets that we have are no littering, no fly tipping, and no dog muck. That's it. We don't have any financial targets that we're trying to work to, otherwise we might be held to the fact that, oh, your inspectors are just going out, they're getting everybody for throwing cigarettes everywhere until they make 10,000 claims a day. So that's that bit. I was going to lighten the mood, but it's quite light tonight, so I don't need to. I was going to admit to being a Coke user, right, which is quite interesting because it goes back to Councillor Shah Hussein's thing. I have a little blue box at home to put mine in. I haven't got, well, I live on a terrace road.
Can I just remind the public sitting in the gallery, please? Thank you. Refrain from.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Right. I did an exercise while I was in Councillor Ishtiak's role, if you will. And I've been a physicist, I'm a sad man to start with, but the cans of Coke that I drink, right, I thought I'd stack them into a blue box. And amazingly enough, you can get 96 in. Now, I then, God, the job went to my head, if I'm honest, and I bought a can crusher. And it's a stand-on one, and you crush them down. And I actually can get, don't know where I'll get done for this, I actually offered a £20 cash gift voucher to the staff of Street Scene to see how many would guess how many more we'd get in if we crushed them all first. And well, the compression ratio was 2.83, nearly 3. So instead of going 96 cans in and filling the little thing up, I could get 300 in. And that has served me no end because I can do stuff with it that way. So there are ways to do it. And I'll leave it at that because I'll not embarrass my colleague here because I just begged for money, Mr. Mayor, which is what that was, why you had to shut me up. So I'll shut up again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. PL 41181. Firstly, quite happily work on that motion with you, Councillor Shaw, for a number of reasons. To Councillor Baker, that's interesting, but I have 5 blue boxes in a small yard. What takes up less space? 1 big bin or 5 small boxes, because we believe in recycling and we're a big family. So the problem is the bin takes up less space than the boxes you're talking about if people are recycling properly. So for me, we really need to look at and maybe give people choices in terms of what you've got. What I've had to do is build a frame on the wall to hang these boxes off, which doesn't look very sightly. And then the next thing, sorry, Councillor Brindle, in terms of stacking these things, that'd be all right if you got your boxes back with the lids, because they'd be able to stack. But when you get your boxes back, you don't get your lids. Final observation, Councillor Whittaker, just a word of advice, because it works wonders. Tie a bag around the handle of your food recycling bin. It works for me. I've never had a problem, and I get my bag left in the bin when they leave it.
Okay, thank you, colleagues, for your observations. Some interesting ideas, and again, Burnley's engineering brain. Thank you, Howard, for that. That was brilliant. I'm sure officers are watching that, and maybe they pick it up. So yeah, great ideas. Thank you for that. But we are looking at, always continuously looking at ways of improving recycling and increasing the recycling and making Burnley a cleaner, a better place. And the question Councillor Poulton asked earlier on I think it wasn't a financial question, if I'm right. It was more about, do you have a target, how many you can, going to prosecute, or how many back streets are going to be looked at clean? That's, yeah. So I take that point, and I welcome targets, because you can measure your achievement, your success, and that's how it should be done. To be honest, a good suggestion. I will take you on board. Again, I reach out to everybody. I'm happy as an exec member to come out in your respective ward if you want me to have a look at. And I want to give a shout out to all the people that are keeping our Burnley tidy, whether it's officers or whether it's local elected members, by reporting every week religiously, but also in particular what Councillor Shaw mentioned earlier, a group of people who dedicate their time every Sunday going around and cleaning in their area. In fact, to be honest, they go around Burnley. So if anywhere you wanted to be involved in that, I would encourage you to. These are volunteers who are from Burnley and believe in their town. So shout out to them. Thank you very much. If there's any other observations, I'm happy. If there's any questions, drop me an email. Thank you.
Moving on to the next, development and growth. Councillor Khan, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm aware that it's late, so I'll try to keep it brief. Because we do have another portfolio as well to go after this. I'm really proud to present my report tonight. There's been a lot happening, and unfortunately, because of the meeting being adjourned, it's not as seamless as it would have been if I'd presented this report when we last met. However, loads of great stuff happening in Burnley and Padiham. We had the Burnley Business Awards, and the tickets sold out within 5 days. And wow, when I tell you that Burnley Business Awards that night at Town Hall felt like it was the centre of the universe. It was absolutely magical. And to all the nominees and the winners and all the entrepreneurs and all the people that do business in Burnley and those that support and volunteer with them, I would like to put on record that honestly, it was absolutely amazing to see everybody in all their finery having a wonderful evening and being recognised for their hard work and for their commitment and all that they contribute to this wonderful town. There was a winners' reception that was held afterwards, and there was also at Finsbury Gate a wonderful barbecue for the winners, and that was obviously well attended by many of the all of the winners and bondholders together. I wanted to specifically mention, I mean, there's so much to go through in this report, but like I say, I will try to keep it brief. I wanted to mention Padiham because Padiham had well, they've had quite a series of events going on recently over the summer. And in particular, the 1940s event, I wanted to, as I always try to do, is mention the good work that is done Padiham. I wanted to thank all the volunteers and the Padiham on Parade Committee and anybody who's involved with any of that wonderful work. I mean, so much has happened at, the duck race, that there's so much that goes on. It's absolutely amazing, and it's such a testimony to Padiham. And long may it continue, all the good work that they do and the volunteers. And then finally, I just wanted to just draw attention to the final point, which was Top Club, which I did mention before. So UKSPF money was put towards that, and that is well underway at the moment. I'm really proud of that, and it coincides with the 150th anniversary celebrations. So I think that is quite a big testimony to what all the good work that's going on within this portfolio. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's page 185, PR 13, and it's with regards to Vision Park. And I asked a question similarly about a few months back, and I was told that the development of Vision Park 2, which is on the side of Vision Park, is on its way. And I just wanted to know, is there any progress on it? And if there isn't any progress, can we release some of the development land for housing?
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did envisage that this might come up. I wasn't sure, but I thought that it might come up. I would like to let Councillor Shah Hussain know that there has been a development. There is agreement of a sale in place. It is currently with the buyer's lawyers. So at any time, when I read my portfolio or the report that we put in front of everybody, I always think, should we give names? And if we can, we always do. If there ever isn't, that'll be the reason why, because we're not able to release that information. But I wanted to give Councillor Hussain that reassurance that I've already checked up on this, and yes, that is the case. When more information is able to be disclosed, we will definitely be sure to let him know. Thank you.
Any observations? Councillor Anwar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, on the Burnley Business Awards, fantastic evening, but Councillor Khan said it was magical. I just want to put it on the record, say it was hot. I don't know how people called that day. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PR 17. I'm not quite sure of the page because of the document I'm actually looking at, but it's referring to universal credit claimants. And I think this is positive news. Although the claimant count is still high, May 2025, 6.1%, May 2026, 6.2%. So barely a difference. And yet during that time, Burnley has lost its largest employer in Boohoo. So if I'm reading the figures correctly, it's had really a negligible effect on our claimant count numbers. And I'd just like to congratulate the team here and the Department for Work and Pensions, which must have been a really remarkable job, because I know there was huge concern expressed around this chamber at the time that Boohoo said that they were moving their operations to Sheffield. But it seems like perhaps the worst outcomes that we were envisaging at the time haven't materialised. And I'd just like to put on record thanks to the exec member and the team and the wider fraternity for obviously the work they've done in this area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hussain?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An observation, page 185, PR 13. The reason of bringing the Vision Park up on most occasions is, and residents around the area are talking to me about that empty piece of land and the fact that it's constantly gets fly tipped by people going over there and dumping the stuff in van load of, and so it's a known place for fly tippers to go and you know, still put stuff there. And it's raised a lot of rodent around there. So residents are always asking me about it, is why aren't you developing this land? And one of the key things that they've always said to me is about housing. And that's the question that I asked, will that be released? Because there is a group of residents who are willing to, you know, develop that piece of land if it's available for housing. And that's the reason why I've raised it, and I will continue to raise it until something happens, because that's what my residents are asking for, and I'm here to represent their views, and that's what I want to see happening. If it's for employment, fine, get it sorted. But, you know, keeping that empty for 20 odd years is not acceptable. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Mark Townsend, thank you for your sentiments around the universal claimants data. I agree. I do think that, you know, considering we expressed extreme concern at the time and we braced ourselves for the worst, I do think that, you know, not down to any singular person or any one department, I think it's been across the board. And so I agree with you that that is the best outcome that we could have had, considering it is only a marginal difference and Boohoo was such a big employer. So I would like to echo what Councillor Mark Townsend said, and I actually totally agree with him. Regarding Councillor Shah Hussain, as previously stated in one of our council meetings when he brought it up, it may have been the one before last, I echoed that I agree with him that housing is really important. And I also agreed with him that that area would be ideal and that the executive is always looking for housing and it would help our residents. So there is no issue, there's no concern around why he's bringing it up. I was merely being organised by ensuring that that information was to hand and anticipating that he may bring it up. I agree with him and say that, yes, if there was no plan in place, if there was no steps in place, then it would have been a good idea. And, the residents that he's alluding to that are looking at interested, I think I know them as well. And, they would, it'd be in very good hands. However, we are where we are. As soon as this obviously is able to be released, we will let him know. But there is no issue for me. He's welcome to ask about it, and I will keep on giving him updates on it. Thank you.
Moving on to housing and planning. Councillor Baker, will you please move your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move my report, and doing so, I'm willing to take any questions, but I'll do them one at a time because my brain works extremely strangely. It jumps around all over the place. So the more you can time me down, the better you'll get a response, if I'm honest about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if that's all right with you.
Any questions? Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's page 193, I think, PL7. And Councillor Baker, has there been any kind of movement on Livingston Mill and social housing there? And yes, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I've not been clear. Livingston Mill and at the bottom of Elm Street. Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Baker said initially he would like to take one question at a time. Secondly, he wanted clarification as to which site I was referring to. That is the reason why I would do it. Like I said, Councillor Mayor, point of order. Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Don't argue with the mayor.
Yeah, he did want to Councillor Baker did want to answer one question.
Mayor, yeah, keep quick. It's up to the mayor.
Are we ready?
It's the mayor's decision. Councillor Dole.
Councillor Dole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't give any reference numbers because I can't see any, but I hope Councillor Baker can enlighten me. I might have missed it somewhere, but I can't see any reference to the work of the damp officer and his team in your report. Can you reassure me that that work is still ongoing and what progress is being made? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Then.
Councillor Baker.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm following you. Livingstone Mill, I have no updates to give at this moment, but I will check back on you. It's a slow process, is that, because it's been empty for so darn long. I was sure there was actually something in here about the damp officer because he's done quite well, but obviously damp problems disappear in the height of the hot weather. I do apologise, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, with the hot weather and the very clement weather, the amount of damp generated is extremely low during a typical Burnley summer of heat and hot weather that follows. So the damp officer hasn't put any reports in yet, but I do expect it to build up, Mr. Mayor, as winter progresses. Thank you.
Observations. Moving on to the next. Item 9, question under Standing Order 10.2.
None have been received, Mr. Mayor.
Now, thank you, everyone. That concludes the business for tonight meeting. Have a safe journey home. Thank you very much.
Members of the council, ladies and